Hello, welcome. Scrappy Grandma Lanita here. Hey, this is our 49th, I think. 49th, yes, portion. Only 5 more to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to go. So it is Ki Tetze, and it means when you go. And it's Deuteronomy 21:10 through 25:19. Isaiah 54, 1 through 10 is the Haftorah, the prophets. And the Brit Hadashah, the Gospels, is Matthew 24, 29 through 42. So, Father God, we offer ourselves up to you. This is your time to glorify you. Father, give us a hunger and a thirst for your word. Give us a passion. Help us to learn how to study the deeper things that teach us about your nature, your character, and how to walk in covenant with you. Thank you for the opportunity to have your word in abundance in so many different versions. We're so blessed. Help us to chew on your word and get it into us. Holy Spirit, open our eyes, open our ears, and help us to understand your word. In Yahushua's mighty name. Amen. It has been a busy week. Well, it's a busy season. I think for you homesteaders out there, you know, we did a deep clean on the chicken coop, like scrubbing and pressure washing, and got it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, especially after butchering 40 chickens. It needed it because having 90 chickens can make things pretty messy. So this is the once a year, twice a year big clean out. But we did that yesterday, and I was feeling it last night. But it's helping build my strength. Coming from those of you that are new, I have spent the last 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 7 years in healing and recovery from major illnesses to where I was bedbound. And so being able to rake and clean out the chicken coop and feel it, that's a good thing. So anyway, but yeah, harvesting herbs, making medicines with those herbs, then butchering the chickens last weekend, and then this weekend cleaning the chicken coop. It's been busy. And my daughter's going back to work, and so I'm going to be watching the grandbabies consistently now again. So I'm blessed, absolutely blessed. My life is so blessed. And honestly, I can say I wasn't blessed before observing Torah, his statutes, his right rulings, his instructions. My life wasn't blessed. I was tormented in my mind. Life was a major struggle. And we got struggle still, but it's different. I know that the struggles are for a purpose. But anyway, another conversation for another time. But welcome. I'm going to go ahead and read a portion from my commentary, Year Through Torah, a week-by-week journey for Christians. And real quick, too, I want to put it out there that we're going to be starting new portions in 6 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks. So we're going to start over in Genesis 1:1. We have an amazing group of women that fellowship together, sisters that all read through the portions. Our lives are committed and devoted to walking in covenant with the Most High. And we get together we're in a Discord group, and we get together every Thursday at noon Pacific time to go over what we've read through the week. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, let me know, and I can get you the link and everything to help get you set up. Also, it's run by my friend Angelina with Agape Love Co. And she also put out a really beautiful workbook, and you can do coloring. Let's get an actual pretty one in here that I've found personally myself, as pretty as it is. She has a unisex one for kids, men, that doesn't have the coloring and has more room for notes, and I'm ordering that one for this year, even though the coloring was fun. But coloring, studying, yeah, not enough time in the day. So anyway, okay. So like I said, let me know if you'd be interested in the workbook. While I'm at it, I guess I read the scriptures, 2009. There we go. I don't know. These might be backwards. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll look back. But anyway, it's the scriptures version. It restores the Hebrew names. So I really like that. It's the version I'm reading right now. So, sorry, got a phone call. There we go. All right. So, Ki Tetze. I looked it up to so I could pronounce it right now. Now, now I can't remember it. The pronunciation. I said it in the first part. So anyway, okay. So in last week's Parsha, Shoftim, Moses defined a system of justice for the Israelites and pointed to the coming Messiah, who would be the rightful king of Israel. In this week's portion, he returns to the temporal concern of the conquest of the promised land by providing a number of specific instructions regarding civil life in Israel. So it's like, we're getting ready, we're going to go take the land, this is how you need to behave. So kind of like, what we're waiting to do right now. The second Exodus, we're waiting to go out into the wilderness, but one day take the land. And we should be practicing how to behave now. So it begins with, when you go out to war against your enemies, and Yahuah, your Elohim, gives them into your hand, and you take them captive, Deuteronomy 21:10. So 74 of the Torah's 613 commandments are given in Parashat Ki Tetze. I think that's it, Ki Tetze, covering a wide assortment of rules related to ethical warfare. And this is what's beautiful about this portion, is it's about, everyone is like, under the law, and his laws are beautiful, and they're all about the preservation of life and compassion and love. And I know they seem harsh, but there's a love and a compassion behind that harshness, and like we'll read in here today about the rebellious son who is, he's rebelling against the wisdom of his parents. He's, doing things that are unhealthy, and, and in order to, one, set an example, and two, to purge the evil, so that it doesn't become contagious, kind of like the world we live in today. So, he's put to death. The compassion behind that is the people that won't follow suit. So, sacrifice the one. Anyway. And I know that in our world today, that's like crazy. But would we be where we are? Because you only have to do that a couple of times and people are going to start, back in when I was a kid, growing up, you didn't want to go to prison or go to jail because it was scary and bad. And, nowadays people have no problem going to jail. They get cared for there. They get their dental and their medical, and they have, places to live, 3 hots and a cot. And there are people that thrive there. So, but back in my day, it was terrifying. And I think things need to be a little terrifying again. Anyway, so in Ki Tetze, covering a wide assortment of rules related to ethical warfare, family life, burial of the deceased, property laws, the humane treatment of animals, fair labor practices, and proper economic transactions. A general outline of the Parsha follows. The beautiful captive. The Parsha begins with a discussion of a very beautiful woman. If an Israelite captured a female prisoner of war whom he found attractive, he was forbidden to marry her immediately, but was to have her head shaved, her nails cut, her clothes changed, and then must observe her mourning for a month so that she might become unappealing to him. If after this, that's interesting. If after this period the man still wanted to marry her, he was brought before the court and the judges, who would ask her if she was willing to convert and obey the Torah. If she agreed, then he was allowed to marry her. Otherwise, he must release her from captivity. She would become a free woman. Inheritance rights of the firstborn. The firstborn son is to inherit a double portion from his father, regardless of the status of his mother, whether he liked her or not. The stubborn and rebellious son. So here we go. A stubborn and rebellious son who does not heed his father and mother and does not obey them even after they discipline him is to be stoned to death. And when I heard this and read this, and it's been a few times, if we were living in those days, I would be deserving of death because I did not obey my mother. And, was very disobedient and rebellious and did all the things that it says in the Bible, as we'll read. So there's that, I'm deserving of death. And because of my Messiah's blood shed for me, that takes on a whole new thing, because right here, one area, I'm deserving of death. Thank you, Father. A man hanged on a tree is cursed. The Torah allowed that someone who was to be executed could be hung or impaled and exposed, presumably as a warning to others. According to the Mishnah, the Sanhedrin 6:4, a pole with a horizontal beam was erected, and the dead man's hands were bound and slung over the beam, leaving the body suspended. The Septuagint inverts the word order and translates it as hanged him on wood so that he dies, which later was used to justify the Roman practice of crucifixion. There's some references in here. The exposed body must not last beyond the day of execution, but must be buried before sundown. So there was where we get, where they had to take our Messiah's body off of the stake and have him buried that day. So for he that is hanged on a tree is accursed to Yahuah, Deuteronomy 21:23. But besides the shame and degradation of this matter of death, the one so executed would be unable to fall to their knees as a final act of repentance before Yahuah, thereby implying that they were under irrevocable curse of Yahuah. In this connection, we should note that Yeshua was initially charged with blasphemy by the Jewish leaders of his day. Matthew 26:25, Mark 14:64, and John 10:33. An offense that was punishable by stoning. Oh, how fascinating. Leviticus 24:11-16. However, the provision made in the law for an offender to be hung on a tree was used to justify the sentence of death by Roman crucifixion. Matthew 27:31, Mark 15:13-4, Luke 23:21, and John 19:6 and 15. The followers of Yeshua understood the connection between this provision in the Torah and the salvation of the Lord. It says here, the salvation of Yahuah. Paul wrote, Mashiach redeemed us from the curse of the law, becoming a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who is hanged on a tree. Galatians 3:13. Referring to Hebrew writing I don't understand, of Deuteronomy 21:23. The Apostle Peter also had this in mind when he wrote, the God of our fathers raised Jesus, whom you killed by hanging him on a tree. Acts 5:30, Acts 10:39 and through 40. And he himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. By the wounds you have been healed. By his wounds you have been healed. 1 Peter 2:24. It's really interesting because righteousness, for so long I believed, Abraham, his faith was counted as righteousness. So that's where, it's only faith. Just having faith is where it's counted as righteousness. And, it's been an interesting journey how the Father has, built upon that, that it's faith and obedience. So, but anyway, miscellaneous instructions. One should return all lost articles to the rightful owners, thus loving their neighbor as yourself. Leviticus 19:18 and 34. To promote safety, one should build a railing around his roof. It is prohibited to wear any mixture of wool and linen. And the Jew should also wear fringes on the four corners of the garments. Tzitziot. A man who falsely accuses his bride of being unfaithful to, laws regarding sexual immorality. A man who falsely accuses his bride of being unfaithful to him before their marriage is to receive lashes and a fine if the charge is proved correct. However, the wife is to be stoned. If a woman commits adultery, both she and the man involved are to be killed. A rapist must be put to death. One should not marry his father's wife, or an Ammonite or a Moabite. Various additional laws. Moses gives a number of additional laws that are to be observed as part of the non-Jewish society, including rules about maintaining the purity of the military camp, prohibitions about returning an escaped slave, the duty to pay a worker on time, the proper treatment of a debtor, and the prohibition against charging interest on a loan, the law of divorce, the penalty of 39 lashes for transgression of the Torah prohibition, and procedures for levirate marriage of a wife of a deceased childless brother, the degrading removing of the shoe, as explained for a case of brother-in-law who is unwilling to marry his wife of his deceased brother, and remembering Amalek. Do we remember Amalek from a month or so ago? The Parsha ends with the people being instructed to remember the deeds of Amalek. Remember, Amalek was an invader. He would come from behind, and he would pick off the weak and the slow and the people who weren't staying up on Torah, the people who were losing heart in the wilderness. So let's see what it says here. He attacked the Israelites when they were weak. They were told that they must blot out the remembrance of Amalek from the earth. To this day, a scribe will test his quill by writing the word Amalek and then crossing the word with one bold stroke and then vigorously scraping both the stroke and the offending name from the parchment. That's interesting. So anyway, so let's get started. All right, so we're at Deuteronomy 21:10 through 25:19. So 21:10. When you go out to fight against your enemies, and Yahuah your Elohim shall give them into your hand. Right there, he's promising. He will give them into your hand. And it's really interesting. I find that as a Christian, I used to stand on and, declare a lot of these promises for my life. So how much we took it out of context, because there was the if and then, I never knew about the if. I always took the then you'll be blessed. Then, so, when I'm going out to fight against my spiritual enemies or physical enemies, that he shall give them into my hand and I shall take them captive. Oh, we're going to go out and, take the land. But I'm sure down here there's going to be the then. If you do this, then, so when you go out to fight against your enemies, and Yahuah your Elohim shall give them into your hand, and you shall take them captive, and shall see among the captives a woman fair of form, and shall delight in her, and take for her your wife. So I apologize for getting off on that ram, just the tangent, but all these things is, your Yahuah your Elohim shall give them into your hand. That would be, he's going to give me this, but not because I followed Torah, because I believed I had access to all this because Jesus died for me. Anyway, okay, so see a fair woman in form, and shall delight in her, and take her for your wife. Then you shall bring her to your home, to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails, and put aside the mantle of her captivity, and shall dwell in your house, and mourn her father and mother for a month of days. And after that you shall go into her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be that if you are not pleased with her, then you shall let her go at her desire, but you do not sell her at all for silver. Do not treat her harshly, since you have humbled her. When a man has two wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they are born him children, both the loved and the unloved and the first, both the loved and the unloved, and the firstborn son is of her who is unloved, then it shall be on the day that he makes his sons to inherit his possessions, he is not allowed to treat the son of the beloved wife as a firstborn in the face of the son of the unloved, who is truly the firstborn. But he's to acknowledge the son of the unloved wife as his firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. When a man has a wayward and rebellious son who is not listening to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and who, when they have disciplined him, does not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders of the city, to the gate of his city. And they shall say to the elders in the city, that reminds me of that way back in the day. There was a show called Scared Straight. And the parents would let the kids go into the prisons and see what prison life was like. These are at-risk kids. So see, a little bit more serious, but so the father and the mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders of the city, to the gate of his city, and shall say to the elders of the city, this son of ours is wayward and rebellious. He's not listening to our voice. He's a glutton and a drunkard. And then all the men of the city shall stone him to death with stones. Thus you shall purge evil from your midst. And let all Israel hear and fear. And when a man has committed a sin worthy of death, then he shall be put to death, and you shall hang him on a tree. Let his body not remain overnight on the tree, for you shall certainly bury him the same day. For he who is hanged is accursed of Elohim, so that you do not defile the land which Yahuah your Elohim is giving to you as an inheritance. 22. When you see your brother's ox or his sheep straying away, you shall not hide yourself from them. Return them to your brother without fail. And if your brother is not near you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it to your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall return it to him. So no finders keepers. It's, find it, maintain it, keep, it's like if you're going to have to feed it. This is all about selfless love. agape love, loving your brother as yourself. It's hard to learn living in our world today. And so you do, and it's as simple as down to this. You find something that belongs to someone else, and if it's something alive, like if someone's dog came into my yard, I would take care of it, put messages out, see if anybody, and I would feed it until the person got here, and I would never ask them to reimburse me for feed. So simple, practical. If your brother is not near you, or if you do not know him, then you shall bring it to your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks it. Then you shall return it to him. And so you do with his donkey, and so you do with his garment, and so you do with whatever your brother loses, which he has lost and you have found. You are not allowed to hide yourself. When you see your brother's donkey or an ox fall down on the way, you shall not hide yourself from them. Help him, raise them without fail. A woman does not wear that what pertains to a man, nor does a man put on women's garments, for whoever does this is an abomination to Yahuah your Elohim. This one's my granddaughter, now 18, just started college, has been transitioning since she was 14. And she actually asked me a couple years ago, we were out to dinner, and she asked me if there was anything in the Bible about being transgender. And, I told her about this verse right here. And basically and I pray one day that she'll understand this, is that, Yahuah knew exactly how to make her who she is. And changing that is going against his perfect will. And and a man wearing a woman's clothing, it's deception. It's leading people to believe you're something other than what you truly are. And so that's what I explained to her, is that yes, it does say something about being transgender here. It's he knows best. He knows best. And so I pray that her eyes will be open. So because unfortunately, abomination is a big word, because abomination is something that provokes Yahuah to anger. So I love my baby girl. I love her. My heart breaks for her. So, and one day she may see this. Anyway, when you come upon a bird's nest along the way, in any tree or on the ground with young ones or eggs, with the mother sitting on the young or the eggs, do not take the mother with the young. This is, once again, compassion. Don't be greedy. Don't take more than you need. And this is a way of, don't take the life of the life giver, the mother, with her children, and don't wipe out a species. If you continue to take all of it, then eventually it won't be there. Let the mother go without fail, and take the young for yourself, so that it might be well with you, and you shall prolong your days. When you build a new house, and you shall make a parapet for your roof, so that you do not bring a blood guilt on your house when one falls from it. That just seems so random, but obviously in the day that must have been a thing. So do not sow your vineyard with different kinds of seeds, lest the yield of the seed which you have sown and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled. interesting here. So, it can become hybridized. And that's not a creation of Yahuah. That's a creation of man. And it got me thinking about my seeds and my garden and the things. And I've got to be more diligent about making sure I don't use hybridized seeds. So, for all you gardeners out there, just something to consider. It was like, whoa. When I first read this in Leviticus, I was like, oh my gosh, I scatter my seeds all mixed. I have a wild garden where I've got, mullein growing next to sage, growing next to rosemary and thyme and all the things, because I just, and calendula, just toss seeds out. And I thought, oh, should I not be doing that? But this is what don't, when you have fields and vineyards and, things that can cross and hybridize. So like probably, yeah, one of those trees that has a bunch of different, citrus growing on it or something, hybridized, not of Yahuah. Therefore, chances are probably not good for our health. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey together. Once again, compassion. The poor donkey will be dragged along. Do not put on a garment of different kinds of wool and linen. And this, I'm sure they wondered forever, why no mixing here. And now science has shown us that linen has a perfect frequency, I think, of like 5,000. Wool has a perfect frequency of 5,000. Linen's great for the summer. Wool's great for the winter. You put them together and actually they cancel each other's frequency out to zero, and it becomes unhealthy on our bodies. Yahuah knew. Make tassels on the four corners of the garment with which you cover yourself. I love wearing my tzitzit. They remind me when I am out in public. I don't wear them around the house. Maybe I should, and I'll pray about that. But I don't leave the house without the garments. And probably the reason I don't roll them around the house is I don't want to be dragging them through chicken poop and getting them in all of my kitchen stuff. But I don't leave the house without them. And I notice, they do exactly what they're supposed to do. They remind me of who I belong to, what I've committed to, in how I behave and how I act and how I treat people. And they're a constant reminder that I'm a representative of the Most High and that I need to act accordingly. And I love them and I'm collecting them. And there's some beautiful sisters out there that, I can make my own. Although the last pair I tried and sent to a friend, I wasn't happy with them because my eyesight's really, even with glasses, my eyesight's really, for small detailed work, it's really challenged. So I've been, just getting them from sisters, on social media, and I've gotten some beautiful, beautiful ones, and I love them. So if that's something that, the Father's speaking to you about, do it. It's awesome. So when a man takes a wife and shall go into her and shall hate her, and shall make abusive charges against her and bring an evil name on her, saying, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I did not find her a maiden. Then the father and the mother of the young woman shall take and bring out the proof of the girl's maidenhood to the elders of the city at the gate. And the girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as a wife, and he hates her. And see, he has made abusive charges against her, saying, I did not find your daughter to be a maiden. And yet these are the proofs of my daughter's maidenhood. And they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city. And the elders of the city shall take that man and punish him. Because he's, Lashon Hara. He bearing false witness. And fine him 100 pieces of silver and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought an evil name on a maiden of Israel. And she is to be his wife. He is not allowed to put her away all of his days. That would be hard because he hates her. And then he was forced to keep her, and she was forced to stay. But Yah knows best. But if the matter is true, and the girl was found not to be a maiden, then they shall bring out the girl to the door of her father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done wickedness in Israel, to whore in her father's house. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. When a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. Thus you shall purge the evil from Israel. When a girl who is a maiden is engaged to a husband, and a man finds her in a city and lies with her, then you shall bring both out to the gate of that city, and they shall stone them to death with stones. The girl, because she did not cry out in the city, and the man, because he has humbled his neighbor's wife. Thus you shall purge evil from your midst. But if a man finds a girl who is engaged in the field, and the man takes hold of her and lies with her, and then only the man who lies with her shall die. But you shall do no matter to the girl. The girl has no sin worthy of death, for the matter is like a man who rises against his neighbor and murders him, a being. For he has found her in the field, and she has cried out, and the engaged girl, but without anyone to save her. When a man finds a girl who is a maiden, who is not engaged, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lays with her shall give to the girl's father 50 pieces of silver, and she is to be his wife, because he has humbled her. He is not allowed to put her away all of his days. I heard a commentary on this, because the woman's like, well, he seized her, he raped her. And in those days, maidens, young unmarried women, shouldn't be out. If they're out in the field, she's probably consensual. So he found her in a field, and so when a man finds a girl who is a maiden, who's not engaged, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, so because it seems like a contradiction, and we know that the word doesn't contradict itself, and or not a contradiction, I'm sorry, but that here he rapes her, and then he gets to keep her, but this is not, it's hard, because it looks at, he seizes her and lies with her, that word, you know what, that'd be a good one to look up, because I wonder. So, but yeah, the commentary was, because if she's out, a young maiden out in the field, she's probably out there to meet him and is consensual, and then he's forced to marry her. A man does not take his father's wife, nor uncover the corner of his father's garment. Now that would be something to look up, because I don't understand what that means. 23. He who is wounded by crushing of the testicles, or whose penis is cut off, shall not enter into the community of Yahuah. Interesting. A mamzer shall not enter the community of Yahuah. Even a 10th generation of his shall not enter into the community of Yahuah. What was that? So I'm going to have to look. There's a bunch of words we get to look up this week. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the assembly of Yahuah. Even a 10th generation of them shall not enter into the assembly of Yahuah. And the commentary, and I know it mentioned in the commentary what a mamzer was, but I can't remember now. But the Ammonite and the Moabite, then how about Ruth? And then Ruth was a Moabite, and David was from her line, and he wasn't 10 generations. So, but I think what he said here is the men, the Ammonite and Moabite men shall not enter the assembly of Yahuah, but, she was married and then grafted in. And so, okay, so even because they did not meet with you with bread and water on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim, remember they went through and they were asked for help and they were told no. And because they hired against you Bilam, son of Beor, from Pethor of Aram, Naharim, to curse you. Remember when Balaam went to, and he couldn't curse them, and so instead he taught the Moabite women how to seduce the men, the Israelite men. But Yahuah your Elohim refused to listen to Balaam, and Yahuah your Elohim turned the curse into a blessing for you, because Yahuah your Elohim loves you. Do not seek their peace nor their good all of your days forever. Do not loathe an Edomite. Edom comes from Jacob and Esau. Edomites, so they're brothers. Do not loathe an Edomite, for he is your brother. Do not loathe a Mitzrite, someone from Egypt, because you are a sojourner in the land. The children of the third generation born to them do enter the assembly of Yahuah. When a camp goes out against your enemies, then you shall guard yourself from every evil matter. When there is a man among you who is not clean because of an emission in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. Let him not come into the midst of the camp. And it shall be at the approach of the evening that he bathes with water, and when the sun sets, he can come into the midst of the camp. Go wash yourself and be clean. And you shall have a sharp implement among your equipment, and when you sit down outside, you shall dig with it and turn and cover your excrement. So can you imagine all the people having, basically camping, until they're able to move into homes and stuff? They're still living in tents, and they have to go out and, well, even those days, living in homes, they still had to go out and poo. And so it's like, cover it so nobody's stepping in it. Some things are so very, very practical. They're all very practical. For Yahuah your Elohim walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and give your enemies over to you. Therefore, your camp shall be set apart, so that he does not see unclean matter among you. You and shall turn away from you. There's the other reason. Don't want poo around. Yahuah is walking through the camp. You do not, and this makes you really think about what's permissible in your home. Are there any unclean things in your home that, we don't want Yahuah doesn't want to have to see? So you do not hand over to his mastery the slave who has escaped from his master. Once again, compassion. If he's escaping from his master, chances are he's being mistreated. Let him dwell with you in your midst, in the place which he chooses within one of your gates, where it is pleasing to him. Do not oppress him. None of the daughters of Israel is to be a cult prostitute, nor any of the sons of Israel to be a cult prostitute. Do not bring the harlot fee of a whore or pay of a dog to the house of Israel, your Elohim, or the house of Yahuah, your Elohim, for any vowed offering. For both of these are an abomination to your Elohim. Abomination brings Yahuah to wrath. Do not lend at interest to your brother. Interest of silver, interest of food, or interest of whatever is lent at interest. To a foreigner, you lend at interest, but to your brother, you do not lend at interest, so that Yahuah your Elohim might bless you in all that you put your hand to in the land which you are entering to possess. I mean, wouldn't things be beautiful if everyone were a lot more generous without expecting? When you make a vow to Yahuah your Elohim, do not delay to pay it, for Yahuah your Elohim is certainly requiring it of you, and it shall be a sin to you. It shall be sin in you. But when you abstain from vowing, it is not sin in you. Remember, don't take any vows. This was really interesting because I had to go do jury duty last week and week before. My time's all running together. And I had to go ask them, so what do we do? What plans do you have in place for someone who can't vow? Because when I go in there, and if I get chosen and I have to, raise my right hand and make a vow or swear, I can't do that, or I choose not to do that. My Bible says not to do that. And they was like, wow, we've never heard of anything like that before. Well, I'm sure they'll make some sort of concession. I didn't get chosen, so we didn't find out, but it was very interesting. So, it's, don't make vows, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So, here it says here, and I lost it, so, but when you abstain from vowing, it is not sin in you. That which has gone from your lips you shall guard and do, for you voluntarily vowed to Yahuah your Elohim what you have promised with your mouth. When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, you shall eat to satisfaction of your desire, but do not put any in a receptacle of yours. So, you can pick it as you go. When you come into your neighbor's standing grain, you shall pluck the heads with your hand, but do not use a sickle on your neighbor's standing grain. When Yeshua and the disciples are walking and they're talking on the road and they're eating grain. 24, when a man takes a wife and shall marry her, then it shall be, if he finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found a matter of uncoveredness in her, and he shall write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. And if she left his house and went and became another man's wife, and the later husband shall hate her and write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. And when the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, then the former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that would be an abomination before Yahuah. And do not bring sin on the land which Yahuah your Elohim is giving to you as an inheritance. Now, I had heard about, Israel being Yahuah's bride and him giving her a certificate of divorce, and then her going out and whoring, and I don't know how to put it all together. So some of you who do, but where he's not able to remarry for this reason here, and so because of Yeshua, he's able to remarry. But I'm not exactly sure why. So, but it's interesting here because that points to that. Here we go. Okay. Center, and she's defiled, and that would be an abomination for you. And do not bring sin on the land which Yahuah your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. When a man has taken a new wife, let him not go out into the army, nor let any matter be imposed upon him. He shall be exempt for 1 year for the sake of his home. How beautiful is that? That would be really nice. To rejoice with his wife whom he has taken. No one takes a pledge, the lower or the upper millstone, for he would be taking a life in a pledge. What? When a man is found kidnapping any of his brothers of the children of Israel, and treats him harshly and sells him, then the kidnapper shall die. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. Take heed in an outbreak of leprosy to diligently guard and do according to all that the priests and Levites have taught you. As I have commanded them, so you shall guard and do. Remember what Yahuah your Elohim did to Mitzrayim on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim. When you lend your brother a loan, do not go into his house to get his pledge. Stand outside and let the man to whom you're lending bring the pledge out to you. And if the man is poor, do not sleep with his pledge. But by all means, return the pledge to him at sundown, and he shall sleep in his own garment. So it's like if you put up a garment for pledge, and shall bless you. And it shall be righteousness to you before Yahuah your Elohim. Do not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy of your brothers or of your sojourners who are in your land within your gates. Give him his wages on the same day, and do not let the sun go down on it, for he is poor and lifts up his being to it, so that he does not cry out against you to Yahuah, and it shall be sin in you. Fathers are not to put to death for their children, and children are not put to death for the fathers. Each is to die for their own sins. Do not twist the right ruling of a sojourner or the fatherless, nor take a garment of a widow. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, and that Yahuah your Elohim ransomed you from there. Therefore I am commanding you to do this word. When you reap your harvest in the field, and you have gotten a sheaf in the field, do not go back, and you had forgotten a sheaf in the field, do not go back and get it. Let it be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, for the widow, so that Yahuah your Elohim might bless you in all the work of your hands. So like Ruth, she was a widow and she was able to go and glean out of Boaz's fields. When you beat your olive trees, do not examine the branch behind you. Let it be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When you gather your grapes of your vineyard, do not glean behind you. Let it be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this word. 25. When there is a dispute between men, then they shall come into the judgment, and they shall be judged, and the righteous declared righteous, and the wrongdoer declared wrong. And it shall be, if the wrongdoer is to be struck, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and be struck in his presence with the number of blows according to the wrong. 40 strikes he gives him, but no more, lest he strike him with many more blows than these, and your brother be degraded before your eyes. Do not muzzle an ox while it is threshing. When your brothers dwell together, and one of them has died, and no sons, the widow of the dead man shall not become a stranger's outside. Her husband's brother does go in to her, and shall take her as his wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. And it shall be that the firstborn son which he bears does rise up for the name of his dead brother, so that his name is not blotted out in Israel. So that, the story of Tamar, where, who was it? Was it Judah? I think it's Judah. Anyway, and, he gave his sons, and then he didn't give the third son, and she ended up getting pregnant by him. But if a man does not desire to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up the name of his brother in Israel. He does not agree to perform the duty of my husband's brother. The elders of the city shall then call him and speak to him, and shall stand and say, I have no desire to take her. And then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, and remove his sandal from his foot, and shall spit in his face, and answer and say, thus it is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And in Israel his name shall be called the house of him who had his sandal removed. When men fight with one another, a man and his brother, and the wife of one shall draw near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one striking him, and shall be put out of her hand, and take hold of him by the genitals, then you shall cut off her hand. Your eye does not pardon. Just some of these things seem so silly, but you shall not have in your bag different weights, a heavy and a light. You shall not have in your house different measures, a light, a large, and a small. You shall have a perfect and right weight, and a perfect and right measure, so that they prolong your days on the soil which Yahuah your Elohim is giving you. For all who do these and all who do unrighteousness are, for all who do these and all who do unrighteousness are an abomination to Yahuah your Elohim. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you were coming out of Mitzrayim, how he met you on the way, and he attacked your back, all the feeble ones in your rear, when you were tired and weary, and he did not fear Elohim. Therefore it shall be, when Yahuah your Elohim has given you rest from your enemies all around in the land which Yahuah your Elohim is giving to you possess as an inheritance, that you blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget! Exclamation point. Wow. All right. So that is the Torah portion. I'm going a little bit long. I apologize. Too much gabbing in the beginning. So Isaiah 54, 1 through 10. Sing, O barren one, who you did not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, you who have not been in labor. For the children of the deserted one are more than the children of the married woman, said Yahuah. Enlarge the places of your tent and let them stretch out the curtains of your dwellings and spare not. Lengthen your cords and strengthen your stakes, for you shall break forth to the right and to the left, and your seed inherit the nations and make the deserted cities inhabited. So like I said, these are scriptures that, in the Christian church, we would like declare these over ourselves, but we're not deserving of these. These were given to, and it's interesting because, like, you say something about the laws or the commandments, and people are like, well, those were just given to the land of Israel. So were these promises. These promises were given to the land of Israel, not to the church. And but the ones that are grafted in and that follow his commands and are in covenant with him, those are the ones that get the promises. And the ones who don't are the ones that get the curses. For you shall break forth in the right to the left, and your seed inherit the nations and make the deserted cities inhabited. Do not fear, for you shall not be put to shame nor hurt. You shall not be humiliated. For the shame of your youth you shall forget, and not remember the reproach of your widowhood anymore. For your maker is your husband, Yahuah of hosts is his name, and the set apart one of Israel is your redeemer. He is called the Elohim of all the earth. For Yahuah has called you like a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, like a wife of youth when you were refused, declares your Elohim. For a little while I have forsaken you, but with great compassion I shall gather you. Ooh, yeah, there we go. You're the ingathering. In an overflow of my wrath, I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting loving commitment, I shall have compassion on you, said Yahuah, your Redeemer. For this is the waters of Noah to me, in that I have sworn that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. So I have sworn not to be wroth with you, nor to rebuke you. For though the mountains be removed and the hills be shaken, my loving commitment is not removed from you, nor is my covenant of peace shaken, says Yahuah, who has compassion on you. That's the one thing about this portion. It's all about compassion. And if you can shift your mindset and look at what's being written as his compassion to us, it changes everything when you read it. And Matthew 29 through 42. And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from the heavens. And that's a quote from Joshua. Yes, yeah, I think it's Joshua. I need to learn my Hebrew names here. It's actually quoted many places in the Torah, the Old Testament, the prophets. And the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. That's Haggai 2, 6 and 21, or 6 through 21. Anyway. And then the sign of the son of Adam shall appear in the heavens, and then all of the tribes of the earth shall mourn. These are all quotes. I love this Bible because everything that's quoted from the Torah or from the prophets, from the Old Testament, it's all bolded in the Gospels. So, and it tells where, but it says it in its Hebrew name, and I need to get that so I know. Anyway, so, and the sign of the son of Adam shall appear in the heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the son of Adam coming in the clouds, and the heaven with the power and much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with a great sound of a trumpet, the ingathering piece of trumpets that's coming up. And they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds and from one end of the heavens to the other. And learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and put forth leaves, you know that the summer is near. So you also, when you see all of this and know that he is near at the doors, truly I say to you, this generation shall no means pass away until all of this takes place. The heavens and the earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. But concerning that day and the hour no one knows, not even the messengers of heaven, but my Father only. And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For as they were in the days before the flooding, eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and they did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also shall the coming of Son of Adam be. Then two shall be in the field, and one shall be taken, and one is left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, one is taken, and one is left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your master is coming. Come, Lord, or come, what is it? Come, Lord Jesus, come, Yahushua. No, like using the word Lord. Anyway, perfect. 1 hour. Thank you, Father. Father, thank you so much. Thank you for just all the nuggets and areas I get to go research now. Father, thank you for providing everything that we're able to use to study to get to know you better. Thank you that you created us to live in such a time as this for your good purpose. Father, I pray this goes out and it is a blessing to everyone who hears it. Father, I pray that you stir up a hunger and a thirst and a passion for your word in everyone who listens to this, and that they can't get enough and they just want to know more and more and more about you. Bless them. Thank you, Father. In Yeshua's mighty name. Amen. Be blessed. Have a wonderful week. Let me know if anything interesting pops out to you in this week's reading. If you're interested in joining our Discord group, especially to start over in 6 weeks with Genesis 1:1, and we'll just start all over again. It's the world's oldest Bible study, and it's exciting to learn the foundation. Learn, this is the firm foundation that everything else is built on. So this is what won't be blown away or washed away. It's the firm foundation. So let me know if you like the link to join. Or actually, I'll have the link to join down in below, and also the link to, I'll put a couple links, the link to the different workbooks. Also I'll put a link to the commentary. And then if you do join the Discord group, or also the Agape Love link, it has a lot of material in there. Angelina has done amazing, and I'm so thankful because every week she sends out the week's portion, and it has PDFs that you can print off to study. It has videos to watch with commentary, things to help understand the deeper meanings coming from a Hebrew mindset instead of our Western mindset. And it just really helps to learn to be like our Savior, like our Mashiach, Yahushua the Messiah. So let me know, and I'll get you all hooked up. Have a blessed week. Bye.